what we're covering is ITO4, and ITO4 is the best practice of how to manage IT services. And so the most important thing about ITO4 is value. Value is the whatever you think it benefits you, the usefulness, or has importance to you. It depends on the services that you give to. Next is the comparison. There's two things here. The services and there's a product. So a service is a way that we can help customers achieve the outcome. So you can go and watch a movie and you don't have to set up the cinema yourself. The theaters set it up for you. As for a product, is a tangible product. So a service is can't touch, but is a way of serving. But a product is a tangible or physical object that you can touch. That's the difference between both of them. Output and outcome. Output is a deliverable. So output is what is expected from you. So let's say you increase the work hours from 4 to 6 hours per day on our project. That is an output. It's a fixed value that you set. However, an outcome, we cannot change it. It is a result. So the amount of likes you get on a post depends on the amount of people clicking. You cannot be the one who increased the number yourself. So the differences between output and outcome is there. Difference between utility and warranty. Utility is the functionality of what does it do for me. As for warranty is will it work as we promised. So it is a reassurance that, hey, it's going to work. There are two main topics here. The first large one is the 4 dimensions of ITO4. The reason why it's called 4 dimensions is so that we can understand the perspective. Like, oh, you can look at multiple angles of how to approach this part. If we try to focus on one part only and improve that part, we'll miss the whole picture. So we have to consider more than just one part. So what 4 dimensions of ITO have? The 4 main ones is organizations and people, information and technology, partners and suppliers, and value streams and process. I will get into each one specifically in a bit. But all of it is so to serve the products and services or the value. That's the key. So first one is organizations and people. So this is how the company side is structured. You have to consider the people that you have. They have the skills needed to do your work, and how the hierarchy is established. Like who's the leader of what, who's the boss of what, who's in charge of this and who's in charge of that. Yeah, that's organizations and people. Information and technology is the tools or informations you use to help your company to do your services. So it could be like the computers you have in the company, or it could be the information about your customers that you can use. Like you gathered customer information to improve your service. For partners and suppliers are other organizations that are helping you, basically. And you have to decide whether you should keep your resources to yourself in working in-house or you outsource it. If you outsource it, then you got to consider the responsibilities that you give to them. And finally, the last one is value streams and processes. So this is the procedures that turned demand into value. This is important because the goal of ITSM is to convert demand into value. Value streams have 3 types. Value stream is the steps it takes to start from demand and end with value. So a good process would add value. So it's a VA. There is another one that does not add value but is still required, which is necessary but non-valued added. So it's an NVA. And the final one is pure waste and should be removed. It is non-valued added. Not only do we just look at these 4 main dimensions, but we also look at the bigger picture, like multiple external factors. These ones are external. So they are political, economical, environmental, legal, technological, social factors. This is one of the first major parts. Then the second one that's very important is the service value system. Now, again, ITSM is about converting demand and output it into value. And so ITSM has created a model to like, okay, here's how you can do it. The first one is the guiding principles. So the guiding principles, there is 7 guiding principles. There is focus on value, is make sure you go to your value. Start where you are. Don't start from zero. You have things, you can reuse things that already work. Progress iteratively with feedback. Take small steps rather than large steps. Collaborate and promote. Think and work holistically is treat the services as a whole system. Keep it simple and practical, and use resources efficiently. Try to minimize the waste of resources. Next up, we have governance. Now, governance guiding principles are the values that orbits around this model. But in order to make sure that these values are applied, we have to be a boss. We have to make sure that your men are working correctly. So you have to do 3 things, which is evaluate, direct, monitor. Evaluate is to review what your people have done, see if it's okay. Direct is enforce the principles that we talked about, the guiding principles, into the workers. Make sure that they abide by those rules and not go outside of those objectives. And last one is monitor, is to monitor and make sure that your people are still aligned with the objective. Next is the service value chain. Now this one is an important part. It's a big process, but it is the core of converting demand to value. The 2 overarching parts is planning and improving. You plan and you improve to improve the process of converting demand into value. In order to get the demand, you have to engage. Engaging means to gather the requirements, like what do your stakeholders want? What do the customers want? And once you get that, you can start to design and transition. And once you design and transition, you'll be able to start obtaining and building to make sure that your services can meet the requirement. And then after that is deliver and support. You send it to the customers. And then the cycle repeats. You improve, engage, and then the most important part here is always remember that demand is always the beginning and it always ends in value. Next up is the continuous improvement. So there's also improvement in the service value chain, but there's also improvement here in continual for the whole process as well to make sure that you are improving. This is basically the cycle. It is plan, do, check, act. It's PDCA. So for improvement, there's 7 steps. You have to identify, first you have to know like what you're trying to get at, like what your goal is, to check where you're at, to measure it, and to start working that way. After that, you check to make sure that am I on the right track? And after you check, you can begin taking action to change up your process again. And then you go back to planning. Now, this is a summary. So the service value system is converting demand into value. This is the very big picture, okay? Very, very big. Guiding principles are on the top left. There's the 7 things here. And in order to make these work, you have to have a governance. You gotta evaluate, direct, and monitor. And once they are able to enforce those principles, the people are starting to work on the service value chain, which is in the center. And then there's continuous improvement outside, where we're continuously making sure that it is improving to deliver the value in a better state and more efficient and optimized. But I missed one part. One part is practices. Now, practices here is the rabbit hole. Because practices is this one. There is 14 general management practices, 17 service management practices, and 3 technical management practices. All of these are for the practice part of the service value chain, which I will be going over every single one of them. So, we can start with the general management. First one is architecture management. Architecture management is to understand the components you have in your system, how they work, in a big picture, basically. The big picture is to make sure that the organization has all of the components working in the same direction. Next is continuous improvement. You want to keep their services aligned with your objective. Because the environment is constantly changing, we have to continuously adapt and prioritize what to change. Next is information security management. It's basically protecting the information needed for your business. It's the basic securities you need to protect your C-I-N-A, which is the confidentiality, the integrity, and the availability. And how do you protect those? Well, one way you can do it is apply policies. You can apply like access control. You can apply like passwords you can apply email policies, internet policies, supplier access. So protecting your assets, basically. Next is knowledge management. Knowledge management is to keep the information effectively. So the pyramid behind this is called a DIKW, which basically stands for data, information, knowledge, and wisdom. So as you ascend higher, data becomes more useful to the organization. So what the organization wants is knowledge. If you have knowledge, you'll be able to apply it to your cases in the environment. Next is measurement and reporting. So you just have to measure your improvements, make sure that you're on track. The way you can measure your progress, there's two main things you can check. First is the critical success factor, the CSF. It is a value that determines the goal, or how close you are to achieving that. So let's say critical success factor, an example could be like a higher sales or higher customer satisfaction. How would you do that? Well, we have to check the key performance indicator, the KPI, the one on the right, which is the measurable value of your performance. So it could be something like success rate of your project. Next is organizational change management. You'll be able to have a smooth transition to the new implementation of whatever you want in your organization. You want to add something into your organization, you have to make sure that your organization isn't interrupted. Because when you add new things, there's got to be change, and change comes with disruptions. So you have to minimize those changes as much as you can. That is organizational change management. Portfolio management is not your CV or resume, but it is used for recording all of the organization's resources, basically. So we're going to record the portfolio of products or services, like whatever products you have, you just list it all in one portfolio. All the projects you have currently working on and done, completed, just store it in the project portfolio. And whoever are your customers, like what group of people they are, you just put that in your customer portfolio. So portfolio is basically collecting information and putting it inside each category and making sure which one is important or not important. Next, we have project management. Simple. You just ensure projects is delivered successfully. So make sure it starts well, plan well, implement, and decommission. Next is the relationship management. Maintain the relationship between your customers on a large scale, strategic and tactical. Strategic is a larger point of view of your customers, and tactical is more how are you going to satisfy your customers. Like tactical could be like running a survey or handling complaints, whereas strategic could be like planning the bigger picture, like how do we make customers more attracted to use our services or products more often. Next is risk management, is to understand that and handle risk. So to identify the risk and learn from those risks and then solve it quickly. Next is service financial management. So handling the finances of the organization effectively, whether it's through budgeting, accounting, or charging. Next is strategy management. You set goals and allocate resources. Strategy is the big picture. Again, you have to analyze like the opportunities that you have, and then like say like, hey, is there anything that needs to be tweaked? Where is our organization going? Which direction are we supposed to be heading into? And we have to be able to move our entire organization into that direction if we need to make sure the big picture of the organization can move and change smoothly. Supplier management is to make sure that the people that are supplying you with the resources, so you have to prioritize them according to this graph here. You can prioritize them according to the risk and impact and the value and importance. If you put them high on the priority list, it would be a strategic supplier, which would be meaning that they will have access to very important or confidential informations to your company, basically like almost part of your company. Whereas tactical suppliers would have significant interactions with you, but not that deep of a level as strategic suppliers. For operationals, there will be only the people supplying the resources that you need. They don't need to know important informations of their organization. They just have to send their resources over to your company. Finally, commodity is low value suppliers. You don't really care about them. If something were to happen to them, it have little effect on your company. And finally, the last one for general management is workforce and talent management. To make sure that the skills that the people in your organization have the right skills to do whatever they're doing. Now, we shall go to service management practices. There are 17 of them. So first one is availability management. So to be able to meet the standards that we will be available to you when we promise that. So according to this chart, you can see how long, how many nines there are for each. You can guarantee your customers to have. So the more nines is the more availability, the higher the availability, basically. The more uptime you have. Next is business analysis, analyzing the business and define the needs so that you can propose a solution. Next is capacity and performance management. Make sure that your performance is up to the agreed amount. If you don't meet that standard, it goes against this management. This management had to make sure that your performance is on target, basically. Next is change control. This one, change control. All right, important one. Change control is maximizing the success of a change. Change in an organization is a big thing. You have to make sure that everything goes the right way and it doesn't interrupt or destroy the previous things in the organization. There are two types of changes. There's request for change and then change proposal. Request for change is a formal request, basically. It doesn't have major changes, but let's say you need tweak this feature a bit or add this to the company, something like that. Add a fridge or something. That could be a request for change. But a change proposal is a major change that has huge impacts on the business. You need significant amount of resources to make it work. So in order for it to happen, you have to go through all of the process of evaluation. Like you have to make sure that the boss approves it. Make sure that the changes won't affect or destroy, interrupt the business. Yeah. So two types of changes. And the change requests have three types. There's standard, place where you just don't need additional authorization. You just do requests that are standard, basically. Normal change is the normal changes that you have to fill in the form. You have to have a change proposal. You have to sign it, and you got to get it to be authorized. But for emergency changes, it has to be implemented ASAP. There's no need to schedule it. As soon as you get the approval, you can change, because sometimes it might be very important that you have to get it done. Next thing about change is change advisory board. Change advisory board is the people that have a say, people who can voice their opinions on the changes in the organization. This here is basically everyone that's involved in the organization, whether it's a customer, a developer, a consultant, a user manager, a third party, anyone that is part of the organization can make a request. There are 7 R's of change evaluation. Here are the following. First one is who raised the change? Who brought up the change? Second, what is the reason for change? What is the return required from this change? What are the risks involved in the change? What resources are required? Who is responsible? And what is the relationship of the change? Next is incident management, handling incidents and minimizing impact, restoring it as soon as possible. An incident, by the way, is a unplanned interruption. Okay. So for incident resolution, there are multiple steps you can take. So first is either the customers complete it themselves as self-help. If not, they'll go up to the service desk. If that doesn't work, it goes to the specialized teams, part of your organization, that are responsible for those issues, basically. And if that doesn't work, then we go to stakeholder swarming. So this is where we have like an almost emergency meeting, have a meeting to discuss how to solve that problem. And if it's too great, then we go into disaster recovery. So when we can't solve it anymore, we have to find a way to recover from this issue. Next is IT asset management. You have to maximize the value you have with your assets. You buy a computer for the company. You have to make sure you maintain it well. And once you no longer need to use it, you have to dispose of it and see how long you can keep on hold on to it, basically. Next is monitoring and event management. You are observing the events that are going on in your organization. What is an event? An event is a meaningful change. So it could be anything. Events could be positive or negative. So monitoring is just assessing everything. As you notice in the pictures, those are normal things that happen, whether good or whether positive or negative to the organization. Next is problem management. We try to reduce the likelihood and impact and make sure that the problems don't go unsolved. So there are two stages of problems. Basically, one is problem. So a problem is something that causes a disruption to your organization. And the second one is a known error. A known error is a problem that the organization knows exists, but is not yet resolved. Next is release management. Release management is implementing new changes, planning and building and deploying those softwares or services, whatever you want, to the customer. Now, deploy would be basically a new installment, a brand new thing, has not been introduced yet. Whereas release would be a new version of a product that already exists in the organization. As for service catalog management, is providing a source where all of your services and products could be all in one place for the customer. So listing all of your products, instead of putting it in separate websites and separate papers or separate places, you all combine it into one place and for all the customers to be able to see and know, like, oh, what do I need to buy, and etc. etc. You can also make sure that the catalog is tailored towards the customers depending on who you want. Like you want to sell them only gaming shares and gaming shares. You want to sell them Barbie toys and Barbie toys. Next is service configuration management. Now, configuration management is handling the assets of your company that needs to be managed. So an example of configuration items, CIs here, are, as you can see, application process, business process, business services, are things that have to be continuously managed, basically. A computer device may not be a configuration item. You just place it there and it works. Here's an example of configuration items versus assets. Configuration items are the parts where you are handling physically, interacting with them, whereas assets are the things where you are part of the organization but does not have to be actively managed. So it could be a laptop, enterprise storage, switches, routers, virtual servers, etc. Next, we have service continuity management. So to maintain business continuity, even though there is a disaster. So in order for us to make sure that the business functions properly, we need to have a risk assessment or a BIA, a business impact analysis, to make sure, hey, what assets do we have? What assets should we protect the most? If it goes down, how are we going to recover from that? That's basically service continuity management. Service design. Designing products so that they're fit for purpose. The key word is fit for use. Fit for purpose, fit for use. You don't want to design a product that doesn't serve the purpose. You want to make sure that it's deliverable to the users or the customers. Now, one note here is that user's experience is a subset of a customer experience. User experiences are experiences from technological perspective, the user interface, the way we handle the browser, how we handle the application. Those are user experiences. But customer experiences could be a more physical experience, such as the company's branding. How do you see the Coca-Cola sign? How do you see the Coca-Cola shirt everywhere? Like, oh, Coke's everywhere. That is customer experience, a bit more physical rather than a computer-based experience. Next is service desk. You'll be able to handle all requests from a single point. So previously we mentioned service desk. It is where all the points of customers, if the customers want to talk to the company, they have to come through the service desk. And the service desk will be the basically the front man of handling everything that the customer says. There is multiple types of service desk structures. So there is a local service desk structure where each service desk is in each region of the community, is physically close, basically. But a centralized service desk structure would merge the smaller ones into a large place to handle all of the services. Whereas the third one is virtual. It's basically having a cloud-based service desk. Multiple points across the globe can interact through a cloud-based software. Next, we have the service level management. This is the agreements that you have with your people. There are many types of agreements. So we can see here. The first one is service level. We can see from customer to IT organization. This one is the relationship between the customer writing a requirement for the organization, what the customers want. For the organization to respond to the customers, they have to agree to do, hey, this is what we promised to do. So we are going to write a service level agreement, a SLA, to make sure that we keep our promise and make sure that keep accountability for the organization. That is SLA. So that is an important one, SLA. The next important one is OLA, operational level agreement. Now this is the agreement between the organization and the internal provider. So people within the organization also have to write an agreement with each other to meet the standards of what they want, each other's want. That's OLA. And the third important one is the underpinning contract, the UC. UC is the external providers, the suppliers basically, promise writing the agreements between you and the suppliers. For the service level agreements, there's two types of service level agreements. First one is service-based service SLA. Service-based SLA is basically you have one product and one service. It is used for all types of customers. Could be the IT department, could be the health department, could be the education department. All those people receive the same product. That is service-based SLA. But for customer SLA, it is tailoring one customer to with all of the services or products that an organization has. So it's basically like a private access to whatever catalogs you want for customer-based SLA. And on top of that, we have a multi-level SLA, which combines both service-based and customer-based, having like a mixed connection, like a more complex relationship with the customer and the services, basically. Next is the service request management. You need to handle your request properly. In order to handle it properly, every time you receive a service request, you have to log and categorize it to make sure it fits into the proper place of request. Finally, the last one for service management practices is the service validation and testing. You want to make sure that the changes or things you make to the product meets the requirement. So you have to test the model, test the release, basically. Finally, last one, technical management practices. There's only 3 of them. First one is deployment management. Deployment management is how you move the new or change components. It could be a asset, could be a service, could be a process, could be anything that you have been planning to do into the live environment. Make sure it works and test and continuously monitoring it. Make sure it is functioning properly. Next one is infrastructure and platform management. making sure that the whatever baseline you're using for your platforms is working. You can choose to do on-site work off-site. You can delegate your work to people in our organization in-house, or you can contract them to work off-site. Finally, last one, software development and management is to ensure applications meet stakeholders' requirements. This is software development, software engineering. Make sure that you are designing it properly and doing all the steps that we learned in developing and writing code to deliver to customers, making sure they are happy with it and continuously monitor it and deploy it. And once you no longer need to use it, you retire it. Now, finally, a quote from me.
At any rate, that is what we are going to try to do.
That's all I have. It's been a pleasure teaching as Winton Churchill. I spell it wrong too. Great. Oh. Okay. Well, thanks.